longer the credits, the better the film. Thanks, everybody. And now for what makes events like this and film festivals so special, we're pleased to bring up Diana Gamzon, Chiah Rodriques, and Michael Katz. Come on up to the stage. I know I gave quick intros before. I think you'll all be able to identify Chiah here. And we have Diana, who's going to moderate and be a part of this panel. Welcome. Michael, thanks for being here. And Chiah, all right. I'm going to leave these folks here after one or two housekeeping things to carry it out. Diana's going to kick it off. They're going to have some discussion here, is my understanding, amongst themselves. We will open up to audience Q&A. I know it's not a huge auditorium, but in order for everybody to hear what's being asked, we actually are going to have some mic runners. So when you're asked if there's questions, please raise your hand, and a microphone will be brought to you so that everybody can hear what's being asked, and then we'll turn it back up to the panel. And I think that's about it. We are so happy to have you. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you to Circle. Thank you, Melinda and Livia and Eric and the entire Wild and Scenic team for hosting and presenting Ladybuds today. This is certainly a very deeply personal film for all of us here in Nevada County. Nevada County is one of our legacy cannabis-producing regions, with cannabis being grown here for the past 50-plus years. And so I'm sure there's many out there who can relate to this film. And thank you, Chiah and Michael, for coming from Mendocino to be here with us. So Michael, we'll kick it off with you. What was the inspiration behind this film and the creation of this film?
Sure. Well, so Chris, the director, and she apologized that she couldn't be here today. She very much wanted to be here, and so she sends her regard and love to everyone here. She definitely was primarily one of the key inspirations for her was the fact that around 2016, 2017, there were reports that as many as 30-something% of executives in cannabis companies at that time were women. And that statistic really kind of like made her pay attention and was like, you know, she had a relationship with cannabis, but this was really inspiring to her. So she wanted to kind of get out there and really start to understand what was driving that statistic. And so she started going to more and more events and really started to engage with women who were kind of in this position, moving through the cannabis space towards some sort of legalization in the future. It was still kind of being figured out what that would look like. And so, you know, she kind of started going to events and farmers markets and really became inspired by the community of women in cannabis that she met. And that led her to want to delve more. And so she basically just started asking people if she could interview them. And I think she wound up interviewing somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 women just in the process of trying to get to understand what was going on and where that heart was. And so ultimately, you know, meeting Chiah and the other incredible women in the film, she decided like, okay, these are the people who I want to follow. And they were all, you know, incredibly, they all said yes. And, you know, then it was just to see what would happen, but you know, it wasn't really known what the result would be. Was just, now that we're here, let's see where this story goes.
Thanks for that. And Chiah, between the time that the film wrapped up, was that about 2018 around, to today, how are things going?
Well, the saga continues. Yeah, it's been a challenge for sure since the film has ended, and every day it's something new. You know, you think you're putting one foot in front of the next, and you think you're taking the right steps, and you're doing what you're supposed to do, and then, you know, something else comes across the plate. Well, now you got to meet, you know, you have to do this. And so it's constant. And, you know, personally, in my farm, we're still struggling even retaining our local permit. And now we're moving through a bunch of stuff that has to happen with CEQA and the state and getting our annual license. So we're hopefully looking forward to that happening. So it's just kind of endless. And, you know, you have to really be wanting to do this. You have to have passion for the plant to do this at this point.
I hear that. I know that many in the audience are probably feeling that as well.
Yep.
Tomorrow, Ladybuds will be screening in Sacramento at the Crest Theater at 5 o'clock, 5:30. And the event is being co-hosted with Assembly Member Jim Wood, Senator John Laird, and Assembly Member Mia Bonta. And this question is for both of you, what are the specific messages that you hope reaches the policymakers and the regulators that will be in attendance in Sacramento?
You want to start, Michael?
Sure. Wait. Well, there are so many great messages in this. So I think this was always, once we identified the reality that this film really captures and expresses so well, it became clear that it would be a valuable learning tool for the broader community, but also specifically for regulators and legislators in Sacramento. A lot of the people who are involved in these processes don't really have the understanding or experience of the culture and like where things came from. And so this film provides, I think, a much more intimate look at that than a lot of the regulators are used to seeing when it comes to, memos or public comments, which are all very important. But films have a way of kind of, distilling some of those broader messages. And so, the key components I think that I would like to see the folks in Sacramento take away are just the outrageous burdens that are placed on the people who are small business people trying to participate in this ever-changing and unstable regulated environment. Like, knowing that things are changing all the time and the flexibility that is being required of operators, that there should be some support for that process. And so my hope is that the film really shows those folks as humans what this is putting our community through, and then we have the solutions to the problems. We as a community create lots of work product designed to provide solutions to our legislators and regulators. And so in this context, we hope that it will help forward some of those policy objectives.
Thanks for that, Michael. And Chiah, as a farmer, what messages do you hope reach the regulators and the policymakers tomorrow?
Well, I've been using ladybuds as a soapbox, really, and like Michael said, it really, I think, shows the realness of what's going on and that it's really affecting people. It's kind of seen like, oh, cannabis operators, they have all this money and, everything's going well because they're selling cannabis. Well, that's not true. People are struggling really hard, and in our community, specifically in Mendocino County, people are fallowing their farms. They're turning in their licenses. They're walking away. And so I hope that this helps open the eyes of the legislators and, the greater community of California that this is not working and we need to do something different. We need to fix this, and it's, before it's too late. So I hope that, by us going there and talking and hopefully answering some real questions and being able to give them some, personal experiences that, we help make change.
Thanks for that. Yeah. And speaking of making change, on Tuesday in Sacramento, there is an opportunity, there's a bill hearing. And Michael, will you tell us about that bill that is going to be heard at the committee hearing and how that relates to the overall themes in Ladybuds?
Sure. So, the bill that's being discussed is going to be AB 2691, which was introduced by Assemblymember James Wood, who's our local Mendocino North Coast representative in the Assembly. And it provides the opportunity for small cannabis cultivators of 1 acre farms or less to get a temporary retail license to be able to sell direct to consumers at up to 12 events per year. And that is really important for small farmers because, as many of you may know, right now, small cannabis farmers are not able to sell direct to consumers, which means they're actually, in my understanding, the only agricultural producer around that is not able to receive the full market value for their product. Unless they have an entire set of other regulations that they have to follow to have a completely different retail license, and on farms based on zoning, a lot of those things just aren't even possible. So this is a game changer for people to be able to directly market and connect with consumers and then receive the value for their product. And this sort of setup was proposed 2-3 years ago in a different bill that was largely similar, but it was shot down politically due to a lot of lobbying by dispensary special interest groups from Southern California. And so, it really is now the time to kind of bring our community together and reinforce how important it is to allow this community to receive the full value for their product. I mean, to me, anything less is really kind of extortion.
Thanks for that, Michael. Yeah, we're really excited to be going down there on Tuesday and provide a hearing. And so, Chiah, if this documentary could continue being filmed for another 3 years, what do you hope it shows 3 years from now?
Success of small operators. Ultimately, we built this industry. We've been doing this. I've been doing this pretty much my whole life. I just finished my 23rd year of cultivation with my husband. And so, I hope that it shows that the people who really, have been fighting so hard to retain their lifestyle and to just grow the plant, free the plant. I hope that we succeed there and that people can stay in business.
Thanks for that. And Michael, from your perspective, what do you hope this film, if it were to be produced in 3 years? I hear that Chris has something in the works. I don't know yet what it is, but let's just say Lady Buds is filmed for another 3 years. What do you hope it shows?
Sure. Well, there's always something in the works, for sure. I think, what I'd like to see, if this were to continue filming, that us as a community raising our voice and working really hard to not just identify the issues, but really provide solutions. Like, the group that Diana is a part of here, Nevada County Cannabis Alliance, the Mendocino Cannabis Alliance, our state-level advocacy group, Origins Council, has gone above and beyond to really provide solutions. So what we would like to see happen is, this is the bottom. That would be great if this were the bottom, and we say, okay, we understand, the regulators understand that, the system does not work at all for the smallest of operators, and works with us to improve it so that there can be stability and that the people who have not had to leave yet are able to maintain, and that more people can participate in the licensed market, because ultimately the more small operators that there are, the better it is for the environment, the better it is for the community, the better it is for all of California.
Thanks for that, Michael. I want to open it up to some audience questions, and then we can come back to some more, but I want to make sure we get some chance for audience questions. So, right here.
Hi. Thanks for coming and doing this presentation. It's great for us. My brother and I are growers here in Nevada City. My question is, if this regulation comes through Sacramento, how's that going to affect us in the county? Is the county going to, do we think the county's going to accept those regulations from the state, or are we going to have to go through this whole process on a county level also?
Well, theoretically, if your county allows for cannabis events, then if this goes into effect, then any operator participating at any licensed cannabis event would be able to go for this license and receive it. It's not supposed, theoretically, it wouldn't be onerous. It would be a relatively easy thing to achieve. So, wherever a licensed cannabis event could happen, that would be where one would be able to take advantage of it.
Great, that would be terrific. One other quick question. I heard yesterday that the Shrine Group, Stizzy, one of the largest in California, they have 100 acres outdoor grows in Lompoc, and they're putting in another 100 acres in grow. How on earth are we going to compete with those types of operations and efficiencies?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to speak first. Would anyone else like to speak?
Well, what I think what Michael speaks to a lot, and what our goal here is that craft cannabis producers are producing a really fine product, and that level of cultivation on a mass scale does not produce quality medicine, and that product probably will end up in a lot of extracts or vape cartridges, things like that are being used to make edibles and such, because on a large scale, I mean, even on a small scale, it's so hard, as you know, as a farmer. Curing and drying and proper processing is a whole art in itself. And so I just don't see that on a gigantic scale like that is producing super high quality medicine. So we hope that, people put their money where their mouth is and spend their money on quality small farmers product. So obviously, to help support all of us. So yeah, I don't know. I'm afraid of that myself. I think about it every day. I mean, you saw it in the film, and that was only 40 acres or something. So that scares me for sure.
Yeah, as you also may have heard recently, in Santa Barbara, a 5.5 million square foot facility just came online. And so, yeah, we're the small batch cannabis community is not going to compete with that style of business. There is no one-to-one competition there. It's that they're different animals. Where the small batch community needs to go is really towards the same people in life who choose to shop at farmers markets, who choose to shop at the co-op. Like, we know that there are different demographics and different consumer sectors in every single consumable that we have. I mean, you can find the $2 bottle of wine, you can find the $2,000 bottle of wine, you can find everything in between. And, it really is a question of what are these models for bringing product to consumers. That we are in the process of developing new models to kind of figure out how to provide more of a return to producers, but still provide lower costs to consumers. The challenge that we have as a community is that we're so busy trying to survive on the licensing side and with the market realities, that it's harder for us to pool the now more limited resources our community has to be able to do some of those things to take on the market. We really just need to gain our market share, and there's going to be the large retailers, there's going to be the Targets, there's going to be the Walmarts, there's going to be the Whole Foods, and then there's going to be the co-ops, there's going to be the farmers markets, there's going to be everything in between. So it's really finding our markets, educating, and it's going to take a while, and it's going to cost a lot of money, to be honest, because we're competing for attention. That's what we're competing for, is the attention of a very distracted population. But we have the story and the core values that drive more consumers to choose how they shop now than it has before. And so that education, it's our responsibility to do more of that.
Question right here.
Thank you. I don't know a lot about that particular bill, so I'm just going to ask a question. Would small farmers be allowed to, like in Nevada City, we have street fairs. Could they do a booth? Is that, or is it just limited to all small farmers and it has to be totally cannabis?
Sure. So the way that the regulations are now, in order for there to be cannabis sales at a booth like you're describing, that whole event would have to be a licensed cannabis event, and it would need to have certain regulations around it that are way more onerous than your average street fair. It's very sad. At an average street fair, there's a couple of things that could happen. A farmer like Chiah could set up a booth that has education and has, pictures and, not really selling product, but letting you know. And then if there's a retailer nearby where you could find her product, or if there's a delivery service, they could also potentially deliver. So if that kind of small farmers market style event where there are farmers educating people from their booths is at a physical address in the state of California, then it's legal for folks to have cannabis delivered there. So you can create opportunities, but there's still going to be more barriers than just setting up a booth at any other street fair. So are we.
Was there another question I saw in the back? There's a couple.
Hi there. Michael, Chiah, thank
What's
you
up,
for being
Basil?
here today.
What's up, buddy?
Thank you. From what I understand, the majority of the footage was shot up until 2018. And maybe since then, more work had been done on the film, but I was hoping that you could speak to what it was like bringing this film to completion and overcoming any, challenges you might have experienced getting to this point. It was a really great piece of work. Congratulations.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I mean, the film was theoretically supposed to come out, what year is it now? 2022, 21? 2020. It was going to premiere at Hot Docs in 2020, and then COVID happened. And so basically the whole thing, just everything shut down for about a year. And there was still like some post-production stuff happening, but there was a pretty big dip as for most of us. And, then putting it back together and getting it out, I think the challenge was just, it's an independent film. And so there's not a lot of resources, and it was constantly trying to bring in the resources that were needed to complete it so that it could get out there. Distributing a small independent film is very, very similar to trying to sell small batch cannabis. There are these distributors that are like, yeah, take it out there. They don't want to give you what you want for it. And then it's like, they aren't very communicative. It's really, really bizarre how parallel those universes are.
I apologize for not having a serious question, but it's for all three of you. What is your favorite cannabis movie?
I mean, Ladybuds, you just watched it.
There you go.
Done.
I'm setting it up for you. So.
Well, maybe some of you have seen Murder Mountain, right? So this is like...
That's your favorite?
That's not my favorite. So when I saw that, I was thinking, oh no, because now everybody thinks that's what cultivating cannabis is like in the Emerald Triangle, and in fact, it's nowhere near like that. Yeah, Ladybuds is definitely, I think, one of the most approachable films that's out there about cannabis. As you saw, it touches your heart. I cry every time I've seen it.
Me too.
Way too much, and I can't help but cry. And so it's because everybody's story is so relatable and it's real, right? And there's a lot of cannabis films out there that don't really dive into the struggles and the reality of what it takes to go from seed to sale, or any part of the process. So I'm really proud of it.
And I'm certainly going to agree with Michael and Chiah.
Yeah, that's the
So
right
my-
answer.
so my-
That's the right answer for this crowd.
So my second one would be Fresh Baked. Half Baked, thank you.
Obviously, it's
As
a
we
far
are.
second, like very
Yeah,
far
Half-Baked.
second.
Thank you. Was there another question in the back?
I had a quick one. Chiah, in the movie, you had mentioned Mendocino Generations at that time. I was at that mixer
believe so.
Yeah. So where does the Mendocino generation stand today?
That's interesting because on the way here, Mo and I were talking about that. Mo Ramirez, who is also has a little cameo in the film, came with me today. And well, so what's happened is that Mendocino generation started out with 3 farms. We went to 60 plus farms in a couple of years. And then what was happening is that organizations like MCA was really doing a lot of what I was doing in the beginning, which was a lot of policy work, a lot of compliance. I was helping farmers get licensed or permitted in Mendocino County. And I realized that a lot of that work was duplicative and it wasn't necessary for me to kind of duplicate what MCA and other organizations were doing. And so also at that time, I was having a lot of family drama, as you saw in the film. And so it just became kind of burdensome. We tried to have a brand with all the farms to put product into one unified brand. And it's hard enough to wrangle farmers for anything, paying their dues and all these things, right? And so it was overburdensome, and I couldn't handle the stress of it, and so we kind of let that slide. And so right now, what Mendocino Generations just represents a family unit of farmers that support each other and in a lot of different ways. And basically that's through networking and support, like, helping each other find outlets for their cannabis and bringing them, all kinds of opportunities like that. But really there's not a lot going on with Mendocino Generations right now.
But at the right time, it will certainly rise again.
Well, that's what I was saying to Mo today. I was like, maybe it's like we do events and that's what we're really going to be doing. And so who knows? We'll see what happens with the next stage of that.
Are there any last questions before we close up public? Oh my gosh, said close up public comment.
You have 3 minutes.
You have 3 minutes. My goodness. Do you have another?
Sorry to hog everything. My question is, you guys are attuned to what's going on in Sacramento pretty good. Do you think the state is coming around and understanding the illegal marketplace and how much that is hurting us?
Ooh. I don't know.
Oh, Diana, do you want to?
Yeah.
I know on a local level, yes. On a state level, I hear a lot of talk. I guess we'll see this year what happens, but I don't know. I know there's a lot of talk about cracking down on enforcement at a statewide level and bringing in more resources, but I think, I don't know.
And I guess I'd say that I think that there's 2 different. This is going to be overly broad maybe, but there's 2 different kind of approaches to the unlicensed or unregulated market. And the one that we've seen for decades that hasn't worked is just enforcement. And so like what we have tended to been advocating for is to provide more access to the licensed market so that more, like make it less onerous, make it easier so that more people who actually want to do the right things can participate in a way that's sustainable for them and small and manageable and not this like outrageously commercial enterprise. And just if that were to happen, I think that there would be more licensees, and I think that there would be less of that like this, because like a lot of the illicit market is just people who are like, there's no way I'm touching that, like, and for good reason. We all know why. So that is as much a product of the failures of regulation as it is of the desires of the market, and so if you were to create a easier licensing system that took into account the actual transition from unlicensed to licensed, I think that would take care of more of the, middle ground or like not really dangerous unlicensed market, and then it would be a lot more clear where the enforcement needs were to go.
Word. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people didn't want to get into licensing because, I kind of went ahead and was like a guinea pig for this in Mendocino County, and a lot of my friends and neighbors who've been cultivating for my whole life, decided to kind of wait and see what was going to happen first before they decided whether they were going to go ahead. And, many people didn't even apply because they saw what stress we were going through, and the hill we had to climb really was way too steep. And so a lot of people decided not to move forward. And now it's, at this point, it's too late for them to enter. And so, yeah, I agree with Michael. If we would have made it a lot easier for people in the beginning, maybe we wouldn't have, that problem so much right now. And it's sad to see as well in our county, we're seeing friends and neighbors get in trouble for something that they weren't even allowed to have a seat at the table. If maybe some of the regulations in Mendocino County in specific were a little bit less onerous, people would have stepped into that or could have. And this is their lifestyle. They're, my parents' friends who've been growing for, 40, 50 years. They've never had a job or a career. What are they going to do? And so, of course, they're going to keep doing what they've been doing, So we're really forcing people to, break the law. It's a very strange system. So, yeah.
I know here in Nevada County, one of the messaging that's been really strong coming out of the Nevada County Cannabis Alliance is enforcement priorities, and being able to really go after and prioritize egregious cannabis farmers that are causing harm to our environment, that are causing issues in the community through violence or other means, that are causing fire hazards, and be focusing on those farmers because just like Mendocino, Nevada County is a legacy cannabis producing region. We have so many different types of cannabis farmers here. And on the other end of egregious, we have those mom and pops that might be, 40, 50-year farmers. We have a lot of farmers that don't have a permit, but they are not egregious. So how can we prioritize our resources over here? And I think I'm hoping that is also what's happening at the state level with enforcement, is really focusing on those egregious cannabis farmers that are just resource extraction. So. All right, well, I think that does anyone have any last questions out there? Well, I think that one of the really wonderful themes that I know I am taking away from this film is we are still standing. We are still here and we are still standing. And there are so many people out there in the audience that I see, that I recognize, that we are all still standing. And as we continue to work through this together and we get creative and we work through solutions and we work through policy, I think that we're gonna keep on keeping on. What are some closing thoughts that both of you may have? I'll start with you, Chiah.
Thank you so much for having us here. And yeah, I agree. I feel like it's just keep putting one foot in front of the next and keep doing what you can do and try to make change by using your voice. And, whether it's writing letters, going to your board of supervisors meetings, talking to people, and also, normalizing cannabis in the way that we are also business owners. We are also part of the community. We also give to other community organizations. We participate in all that kind of stuff, and that the rest of the community starts seeing that we are participating in all of those things, and that is helping a lot. I think in Mendocino County, our MCA is working really hard to sort of integrate with other organizations in the community and hold hands with them and show that we are the community. And so I think those things are really helping, and I hope that helps build our goal. So thank you.
I know that that's something that Diana and I, Nevada County Cannabis Alliance, do a lot of here, and so that's totally key. I think that I think it is coming together and building our strength and our voice. There was a while where our community did not have a seat at the table in Sacramento, and regardless of how challenging things are on our local levels, and they are and everyone has their challenges. We have some particularly challenging challenges at the moment, but it really is the coming together of our regions and, through Origins Council to create the largest cannabis advocacy group in the state and to really show up, it is writing letters, it is Board of Supervisors, and it is taking action and raising your voice at every possible opportunity. So one of those, Diana mentioned earlier, tomorrow, this film is playing again in Sacramento, and it might seem odd, like, why, if I just saw this film, would I drive an hour to go see it again? But if you care about the messages in this film, then this is an opportunity to show the regulators and the legislators in Sacramento that we are coming together, that we are undeniable, that we have messages and we have solutions to the problems that have been created. Then that's Monday at the screening, and then on Tuesday we go to the Capitol and we fight for the direct sales bill that'll actually put these resources back into the hands of our community. And this is how we start to make larger change, by raising our voice. And so I encourage everybody, if you can, make the trip to Sacramento tomorrow and Tuesday. You are this is super close. We're 4 hours away. You guys just a quick trip. So if anybody has the time and availability to do that, I certainly hope you can. Thank you.
Yeah, let's fill the room for sure.
Fill the room. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone, and we're inviting everybody to the Holbrook after this for a little reception. We'll have some dinner bites there, and so please join us at the Holbrook.
All right.
Another housekeeping thing. So I'm Dan Turbyville. I'm the event producer for Ladybud. So I get to take the film around and show it to different community events. And my other role is kind of as a fundraiser for the film as well. And so what we try to do at these community events is fill seats so that we can pay or really get money back to our director that's not here this evening. She sunk a lot of her own money into it, and we're really trying to get her paid, because even though she has it on all these platforms, it gets paid to them and not to
The distributor.
Yes.
as you guys are very well aware. We put together these limited edition. We have a really slim budget too to try to raise some money. So we are trying to make these last as long as we can. We've got some hats that we put together as swag that we're only doing at these community events. And so we did an homage to the Emerald Triangle with emerald green ladybuds. We've got 8 of those today. And then we have Jude Tillman, who's in the film, is a breast cancer survivor, and she's a very strong part of our community. And we did an awareness hat. We'll do this again in October, but I've lost many of my dear friends to breast cancer, and I just recently lost a very important person at Arizona State. Her name was Alyssa, and she was my boss for about 10 years at Arizona State, and she made me the man I am today. And so this is for Alyssa, and also kind of ladybuds, and the proceeds from this, I'm not taking anything from it. I want it to go straight to Chris. So
Get a hat.
Get this man a table out in the lobby.
yes, so thank you for that. And then we'll see you at the Crest.
In Sacramento, and we'll see you at the Holbrook.
We'll see you at the Holbrook right after, yeah.
Well, I just want to give a big round of applause and say thank you so much to Michael, Chiah, and Diana. We're so grateful that you came, and it was such a nice wrap to the event to have you, and look forward to continuing the conversation. Circle wants to especially say thank you to the Nevada County Cannabis Alliance. We work with them on our Growing Green for the Yuba program. If you're interested in learning more about that, check us out at yubariver.org. And this is just the end of the Wild and Scenic event during Earth Day. And if you liked what you see, come and hang out with us early next year once again, where we'll have 5 days of films, events, and workshops. So keep in touch with us, wildandscenicfilmfestival.org. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you. Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
Times of Babylon. Oh yes, I got what you need. Without stem and no seed, we can share